My name's Anna Payne. Welcome everyone to Finding Your Voice, Empowering Yourself Through Self-Advocacy. Many of us feel we have grown up as patients, patients of our doctors, our care teams, our social workers, and to be the best patient you can be. You should always listen to your care providers, right? What happens when you find yourself disagreeing with your care team? Are you confident in your ability to advocate for yourself and make your voice heard? Sometimes being the best advocate for yourself means creating an uncomfortable dialogue with your care team. In this session, you will hear from 3 adults with CF who have all developed different strategies for advocating for themselves. This is a hybrid panel. It is an opportunity for attendees to come, hear different perspectives, as well as ask questions. Our goal is for attendees to leave this panel feeling more confident in their abilities to get out of their comfort zone and ask tough questions, and learn best practices for self-advocacy to ensure all of your cares are being met. So before we get started, I just wanted to provide a few housekeeping items. This session is being recorded and will be available to all registrants after the event on the CF Foundation YouTube channel. You will be notified by email when the session recordings are available. Under the Stage tab on the right side of your screen, you'll notice the chat for everyone who is in this session. If you are in the Event tab chat, this is for the full event and not specific to this session. We will be taking audience questions during this session. We encourage you to submit your questions at any time into the chat box. We will do our best to answer as many questions as possible. We have counselors on call, so if at any point you feel overwhelmed by the conversations, please visit the help desk to request to connect with a counselor. We also want to remind everyone of our community guidelines, which each participant agreed to while registering for BreatheCon. Please be kind, open-minded, and respectful for everyone's opinions and life experiences. Keep all breakout chat discussions confidential. Use your real identity. Do not use malicious or offensive speech. And finally, do not ask for or give medical advice. This panel discussion is not intended to be a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment recommendations. Do not make any changes to your own treatment plan without first consulting with your care team. If you have any technology problems during this session, please visit the help desk located in the expo booth area, and I will now turn it over to Leah to introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here on our self-advocacy panel. My name's Leah. I'm 29 years old, and I live in Boston, Massachusetts, with my boyfriend and our dog. I have worked for the last 8 years supporting students pursuing higher education in a number of different settings. On the side, I'm also a certified physical self-defense instructor for women and girls in a national program. I was diagnosed with CF at the age of 1. My childhood experience with CF was very mild. I did nebulizers and took enzymes every day, but I also played sports year-round and went to sleepaway camp for 1 month every summer. It wasn't until I turned 13 that I had my first ever hospital stay. After that year, my hospital stays became annual, and I was in the hospital every single summer from 2007 to 2019. From 12 summers in the hospital, I learned the whole routine of being there and being on a PICC line. Alcohol, saline, alcohol, drug, alcohol, saline, alcohol, heparin. You know the drill, right? Well, one time I had a nurse who came in to administer my medication. I always watched what they did, and I noticed the nurse did not alcohol before pushing saline and starting my injection. I noticed it right in the moment it happened, and I became completely tongue-tied. I couldn't speak. I knew exactly what she did. I knew it was wrong, and I could not bring myself to say a word. Looking back, this infuriates me now because I allowed myself to feel small and like my voice didn't matter. This in turn caused me to have several following weeks of feeling overwhelmed that something was injected into my bloodstream that was not first cleaned properly. I was swirling in anxiety. that was the moment for me when I said, no more. I will not let my own insecurities and fear of standing up to someone who is smarter or more educated than me stand in my way of advocating for myself and for my care needs. I don't want you to have to reach your moment to say enough is enough. I want you to stand in your power, believe, be confident, and know that you are the one who knows your body best, and only you can bet on yourself to advocate for what you need. No one knows your needs better than you. And now I will turn it over to Tanisha to tell her story.
Thank you, Leah. Hi, everyone. My name is Tanisha, and I'm a native New Yorker who lives in the suburbs of New Jersey with my 2 sons. I was employed in the New York State government for over 20 years, working for several high-level public officials. With a master's degree in public administration, I am also the author of a book called A Rose Can't Grow in a Garden of Weeds. I am a speaker and a strong advocate for children in foster care. I grew up in foster care from the age of 3 to 19 years old, and as a result of living in various group homes, I was never properly diagnosed or cared for medically. My health was never monitored and only addressed upon emergencies. Even though I was constantly sick, it never raised a red flag. And truth be told, I never even had a physical the whole time I was in foster care. But once I was discharged from care at the age of 19 to my own independence, I had to learn how to advocate for my own health. I was able to find a doctor on my own and maintain a steady relationship with her that led to my diagnosis of having cystic fibrosis at the age of 24. Now at 50, I have been in the best care of the CF team located in New York City for the past 26 years. Advocacy for me has always been a way for me to survive. And it started for me very early, as early as 12 years old, when I ran away from home, an abusive home, with the determination never to go back. That day I promised myself that I would never let anyone harm me again. And from then on, I would take good care of myself the best way I knew how. And so advocating for myself became a vital surviving tool because I knew if I didn't stand up for myself, no one else would, and the consequences of my fate would not be good. But the turning point for me in advocacy came 6 months prior from me getting terminated from foster care with nowhere to go. You see, I was invited to the ceremony spotlighting kids in care, and a staff member in a group home that I lived in at the time said that there would be many dignitaries present and to take full advantage of the opportunity. She then told me to speak up for myself and to let them know what I had need of because, as she says, only the squeaky wheel gets the oil first. And so I took her advice, and when it was time for me to come to the front of the stage, as they called my name, I actually grabbed the mic from the host's hand and told the powers that be what I was in need of. And after I finished, I received a standing ovation. Once I was escorted off the stage, the mayoral assistant came up to me and gave me his card and said, "If someone doesn't call you by Monday with a job, give me a call." Well, someone did. It was the commissioner of child welfare. And I began working directly for him and for other administrations for the next 10 years. That day confirmed to me that if I needed or wanted something, I had to speak up for myself. And it has worked in my favor ever since. So I hope in telling you my story that I can encourage you all to never be afraid of taking the necessary steps and advocating for yourself, your health, and your well-being. Now I'd like to turn it back over to Anna to introduce herself.
Hey again, everyone. So I'm Anna Payne, and I'm 35-year-old CF patient turning 36 tomorrow. I live in Bucks County, Pennsylvania with my dog, Roman, and my new dog, Rosita, who I just got yesterday. So she was not in the script, sorry. I'm lucky enough to work 2 jobs, which I love. And in 2021, I had the privilege to be able to start my own nonprofit with other CF families from Bucks County, called the Bucks County Cystic Fibrosis Alliance. You may have read my blog on the foundation site earlier last year and also in 2021 about listening to your body. I've done a few podcasts and written for other CF organizations as well. I was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis at birth, which I consider a blessing as I was able to begin treatment right away. And I fully believe that has enabled me to be with you all today. I had a relatively healthy childhood in and out of the hospital, which became more of a yearly tradition in my 20s. In July of 2021, my whole life changed as I was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. As CF patients, we are 5 to 10 times more likely to develop colon cancer. And currently the screening recommendations are set at age 40, a number that I feel is way too high. I was only 34 years old and it was discovered at stage 4. That means the cancer had already spread to other organs. In order for me to even reach this diagnosis, it was a month-long process of me advocating for myself. I found a mass in my groin that led me to go to different doctors to try and figure out what the mass was. I eventually found myself in the ER to get a CAT scan in hopes it could tell me what was wrong. I spent 4 days in the hospital advocating to not be released until they could tell me what was wrong. It took all 4 days. And I'm grateful for my CF team who supported me through this months-long diagnostic journey. Unfortunately, the mass was cancer that had spread from my colon to my ovary. Deep down, I knew it was going to be colon cancer. I was having some digestive issues the prior month and had done 2 colon cleanses before being admitted to the hospital. If I had not been persistent in my pursuit for the diagnosis, I do not know if I would be here today. And if we're being fully honest, it's nothing short of a miracle that I am here. The cancer was very aggressive and had spread to my ovaries and liver, over 10 spots when this journey first started, and some lymph nodes, the lining of my abdomen wall. Someone gave cancer the keys to the palace and it was just running wild. It is uncomfortable to challenge authority figures, but I urge you to listen to your body, believe your body. And if something is wrong, do not give up until you get diagnosed. I had no symptoms of this stage 4 colon cancer until it was stage 4. If you have blood in your stool, don't just settle for hemorrhoids. Please advocate for getting screened. There is no time machine I can get into to change my situation, but I hope that I can help change yours. So with that, Leah, let me ask you, was there a particular situation that led to a change in the way you communicate with your care team?
Thanks, Anna. Sort of yes, sort of no. I had that situation I spoke about a few minutes ago. I was in the hospital. I saw a nurse make a mistake when administering my medication, and I did not say anything. That was definitely a turning point for me, but don't be fooled. That was not an instantaneous, okay, I'm always going to advocate for myself now. It takes time. I think what that moment and that situation really did for me was it made me feel kind of weak and small. And I knew in my heart that I was stronger than that. I would say a big moment that led to a change in the way I communicate with my care team is when my mom stopped coming to clinic visits with me, which didn't happen until I was in my 20s. Even in my 20s, when my doctor would ask, how have you been feeling or what's new? I would turn and look to my mom to answer for me, even though I was in college, living on my own, taking care of myself. So my mom would say, I don't know, Leah, how are you feeling? That was when I really started to realize, oh yeah, I don't live at home anymore. I do my own treatments. I call the pharmacy and refill my prescriptions. I'm managing my illness on my own day to day, and I need to act that way in this office. I also have worked with my clinic social worker as well as a coach outside of my clinic to really learn and help myself learn not only how to self-advocate, but why it is so important. Tanisha, how do you use your CF experience and self-advocacy to bring awareness to other communities about CF, in particularly communities of people of color?
Yeah, Leah, good question. As I stated earlier in my introduction, I am a strong advocate for kids in foster care, and I speak on various platforms nationwide. And so I am blessed and fortunate to have a platform where I can bring awareness regarding CF. So I noticed that whenever I'm speaking to various groups, different groups, if I'm speaking to a group that's mostly Caucasian, and I come to the part of my story where I tell that I have cystic fibrosis, you can hear almost immediately people in the room just gasp, like, oh my God, because mostly they either know someone with CF or they've heard about it before. And so in speaking to them, I bring awareness and letting them know that the kids in their care, not to neglect their health, and that many times that us as Latin and African Americans go misdiagnosed because of our race. And then I notice when I speak to a group that's mostly or predominantly Latin and African Americans, when I get to the part of me revealing that I have cystic fibrosis, the room is silent because it's not known to them. They've never heard of it before. And even up until now, if I tell anyone who is either African American or Latin American that I have CF, the immediate question is, what is that? Like, what is that? And even after I explain it to them, they still don't understand. And so when I speak to that group, it's about bringing awareness that CF does exist in our community and how not to neglect their health, to speak up whenever they feel like something is wrong with them medically. And so I use those opportunities to educate and bring awareness to CF and advocating for their health to those people who are unaware that it exists. But Anna, how do you talk to your primary care provider or any other specialists or doctors about CF when they don't know about it?
So for me, it's always about educating or reminding the provider that I also have CF. For example, I now have an oncologist. He clearly knows I have CF, but that's not his specialty. So I often have to just remind him that we have to make sure the CF monster is also kept at bay, as well as the cancer monster. I have advocated for my CF team, for example, to be included in discussions before I had surgery. And then even with the cancer, they have a team that meets every so often where they discuss people's cases. And every meeting has been held about my case has also included my CF doctor. But I've also always advocated for that and made sure that my oncologist extended the invite to them as well, just to make sure moving forward, we're keeping both of these things in mind before we make any big decisions. So that's how I kind of approach it, just like reminding them or educating them or a combination of both. So Leah, how have you learned to advocate for yourself in like a medical setting?
It's tough. I would say I've learned to advocate for myself in a medical setting one step at a time. Self-advocacy, in my eyes, is not an all or nothing. We don't call it doing self-advocacy. We call it practicing self-advocacy, because self-advocacy is a skill and something that anyone can always be working on. I learned to advocate for myself by realizing what worked for me was taking it slow, taking it one step at a time. If you're intimidated to talk to your doctor or to stand up for yourself, are you more comfortable talking to your clinic social worker about it? Are you more comfortable putting it in writing or sending an email? Self-advocacy does not have one face. Self-advocacy works when it works for you. How I learned was to rely on my mom a lot and then slowly start answering questions on my own. How am I feeling? Who is the best person to answer that question about how I'm feeling? Is it me or is it my mom? I would take one question at a time until I was running my own appointments. Same for when I was inpatient. If I had a question or something I wanted clarification on, I would either ask my mom to help me articulate what I was feeling, or I would ask a nurse to bring in a doctor or someone I was comfortable sharing my thoughts with. And slowly and surely, one step at a time, you get to a place where you're continuously practicing self-advocacy. I'm still practicing. We're all still practicing. But like riding a bike, the more you do it, the easier it gets. Tanisha, have you ever experienced pushback as a result of advocating for yourself? How did you handle that?
Unfortunately, I have. During my first pregnancy, I had this gut feeling that something was wrong with my baby because his breathing was shallow. And so when I spoke to the doctors about it, they just told me that because he was born prematurely, it was normal because his lungs were still developing. So I said, okay. But then the next day when they were discharging me, my baby had spit up this green sticky goop. And I thought, oh, that's strange. So I remember asking the nurse, is there something wrong with my baby because he spit up this green goop? Can I see the pediatrician? And she said, oh, no, Mom, it's okay. Babies spit up all the time. You're new to this. It's okay. It's completely normal. But the word normal didn't sit well with me because we know as we have in CF, anytime we see anything green in our mucus, it's an indication that there's an infection. And so I kept going, no, can you just have the pediatrician come in so I can talk to him? And I remember her just getting frustrated and she, looked offended that I would even question, what she had said. But she went ahead and got the pediatrician. The pediatrician came back and he asked me what happened. And I said, but by that time, the nurse had cleaned it up. So he asked me what was wrong. And I told him, I said, listen, my baby just spit up this green, sticky, goop. And it just didn't look right. So he said, okay, listen, if between now and the time you get discharged, if he spits up again, have the nurse come get me. So I said, okay. So he left. The nurse came back in moments later, and she started giving me the papers to get discharged. And right as I was getting ready to sign the papers, he spit up again, my baby. And this time I said, nurse, can you please go get the doctor? And she said, why? What happened? I said, he spit up again. He spit up that green gook again. And she said, Mommy, it's okay. It's okay. It's normal. And she went to clean it up again. When she went to clean it up, I grabbed her arm and I said, no, don't wipe it up. Go get the doctor so I can show it to him. Frustrated again, she was like, okay, fine, no problem. I'll go get him. And she went and got the doctor. The doctor came back, and as soon as I said he spit up again, and I pointed to the green gook. And as soon as he looked at it, he snatched my baby out of my hands, and he just started yelling, "Code blue, prep the OR stat." I'm hysterical at this point. And all I can see is him running down the hallway with my baby in his arms with a whole bunch of nurses and doctors running after him. And then there was a whole bunch of nurses and doctors trying to hold me back because I wanted to run down the hall with him because I wanted to know what was wrong with my baby. Come to find out that green gunk that my baby was spitting up was actually his first meconium, which is the first stool that babies pass. Usually upon birth. Well, my baby didn't pass it. It went into his lungs. And that's why he had that shallow breathing and some of it was coming up from his lungs. Had I brought my baby home and just listen to the nurse and just listen to everybody going, oh, it's normal, it's normal, I wouldn't have made it in time for my baby to get operated on. He would have died. Later to find out that it is normal, it's a symptom of, it's one of the symptoms of people with CF, that they don't pass their first meconium, that it gets lodged in their lungs. So months later, my baby was diagnosed with CF. So what I would say to anybody is just trust your gut feeling. It's not just there to protect you, it's there to alert you. So just trust it. Speaking up for, about how you feel. And if the answer of normal doesn't sit well with you, continue to ask questions. With that being said, Anna, we know more about our bodies than most people. Can you tell me or tell us about a time when you felt more confident about yourself than the medical professions?
So when I was going clearly from doctor to doctor to try and get a diagnosis of what inevitably turned out to be stage 4 colon cancer, was unfortunately a time when I felt like I was confident that I knew more than the doctors that were examining me. Deep down, I knew it was something serious. And as Tanisha just alluded to, I was listening to that gut feeling she was just talking about. I knew, unfortunately, fully believed that it was cancer. I clearly didn't think it was stage 4. And I was pretty sure it was colon cancer. I recall before being diagnosed crying to my friend and telling her I had colon cancer about a month or so before I officially got diagnosed. She didn't believe me. But unfortunately, I was right. And I wasn't surprised by the diagnosis. I was more so surprised and upset about the staging of it, as it was so far along. That part I had trouble digesting, to use a fun pun. My body had been telling me something was seriously wrong for like a month or so. And I knew that the digestive issues were tied to something else. And the fact that like the mass on my groin was rapidly growing. It went from the size of a dime in the beginning of like June to the size of like a walnut by the time I was trying to get diagnosed, which was only in July. So it wasn't even like 30 days. And it took me 4 days, as I stated earlier, inpatient, convincing a team of doctors to finally biopsy it. So, with that being said, Tanisha, what do you find to be the most helpful when it comes to advocating for yourself?
Yeah, for me, always come prepared. I make a list of questions that I want to ask my physician or my doctor prior to my visit. I keep a little journal or notebook with a list of questions prior to. I journal all my concerns, my medical procedures with the dates, medications, and how I reacted to them. I keep a running log of any pain symptoms that I'm experiencing when it happens. This preparation has always led me to finding out. Not only has it led me to finding out things that's wrong with me, but it also helps the doctors get to a proper diagnosis, because I remember having this pain in my stomach, like just in my upper area, just ongoing for 5 years. And I kept talking to my doctors about it. No matter when I came into the doctor, no matter what the doctor's appointment was, I kept bringing it up. And because of us with CF, we always have digestive issues and things going on. They would just give me other medication or tell me to take Miralax or, Senecot or whatever to help me relieve whatever pain it was. But I never let up because I knew something was wrong. I knew something was going on. And I kept writing stuff down when I got the pain, when it hurt the most. I kept it in the forefront of any doctor that I went to. Finally, my doctor said, you know what? let me get you over to a GI doctor. We have this really good GI doctor who everyone is raving about. And when I went to him, I showed him my log of all the colonoscopy and the endoscopies, medications, and everything that I was taking, so he didn't have to repeat the same thing over and over again. And that led him to tested me for other things. Come to find out, all that time I had celiac disease. And once I was properly diagnosed, that pain and discomfort went away. And so definitely keeping a list, writing a journal, keeping everything in a notebook has helped me. So maybe it's something that you all can think about doing as well. But Anna, I'm curious as to how did your self-advocacy for CF lead to your colon cancer diagnosis?
So back in May of 2021, I was having some digestive issues. And at the time I thought maybe I ate something weird, that happens. But I also had blood in my stool, which can usually be like a result of hemorrhoids, which is kind of what I was told by other doctors, like, oh, it's probably just hemorrhoids, because I was so young. And I, at this point, though, contacted my CF team, and we did start to have a discussion about getting a colonoscopy, just to put my mind at ease. I had a trip planned in May, and so we kind of agreed to circle back after I got home, because I wasn't feeling like super sick, and I hadn't been on vacation in a very long time. And I figured, well, whatever's wrong with me, if there's anything wrong with me, when I get back, it'll still be wrong with me when I get back from my trip. But I felt like I really just needed to go on vacation and circle back when I got home. And so when I got home is literally when I discovered this mass in my groin. And I took it to my OBGYN, because that's kind of like where I thought I should go. They ordered some ultrasounds, and they said it was nothing super serious, but to go to a general surgeon. In the meantime, this is like almost July, because it was also the summer. So, right, like getting an appointment somewhere and then people being on vacation, and like, and this was right after COVID. So everybody was going on vacation that summer. So it was like a little time lapse to get appointments. But by the time that happened in July, the digestive symptoms of the bloating and constipation discomfort, which were kind of new, like came back into the picture. So my CF team did an X-ray and appeared as if I had dios, which is like a common CF problem where we get like blocked up. And they ordered 2 colon cleanses, as we thought that would kind of help. But deep down, I knew it was something very serious. And by the time I got an appointment with a general surgeon who ordered a CAT scan, I started to feel worse. So I contacted my CF team, and they had me go to the ER and order that exact CAT scan that the general surgeon was asking me to get. And that's when I was admitted. And I spent 4 days inpatient advocating for more tests and basically refusing to leave until I had a diagnosis. My CF doctor was actually on vacation, so he was doing his best to help advocate on my behalf while on vacation. And if I had waited any longer, I don't know how much worse it could have gotten had I had just waited to go get the CAT scan that the general surgeon was going to order. So ultimately, I believe that this helped save my life, right? Because no one would have recommended that I would be screened earlier, because the current guidelines are set at age 40, and I was only 34. And we are 5 to 10 times more likely to develop colon cancer than other groups. So I hope that this number is lowered in my lifetime. And ultimately, I hope that you get screened before 40 and just don't assume anything is hemorrhoids. So with that being said,
Anna,
yeah.
Do you feel different groups of people are dismissed more easily than others, causing advocacy for these groups to be more critical? And are there parts of your identity, race, gender, religion, that you feel make advocacy more difficult?
1000% yes. I can say for certain that unfortunately, females are not heard the same way as male patients. This is actually a statistic, unfortunately. And if you are a woman of color, according to the new statistics, and I'm sure Tanisha would agree, it's even harder to get your needs met. So for these groups, advocating can become a life-saving tool. So I know that if it was not for my CF team, it would have probably been even harder for me to get diagnosed when I did. So I'm going to ask a question to the group and whoever wants to answer first can, and maybe I'll just start since I'm asking a question. So if you had advice for a younger version of yourself trying to build on confidence and learn how to advocate yourself, what would it be? So I'll just start. So I would have told myself that I would live a lot longer than I would have thought, and to not be afraid of a colonoscopy, first and foremost, because they can save your life. I feel like I'm that holiday movie, A Christmas Carol, and I'm the ghost from the future here to warn others to take colon cancer more seriously. And if I had gotten one of those colonoscopies in my 20s when I was having some digestive issues that did eventually clear up, they probably could have caught my cancer at a treatable or maybe even a polyp stage, and I wouldn't have to live with these two diseases. So that's just my advice for a younger version of myself. If anyone else, Leah or anyone, Tanisha, want to jump in?
Yeah, great advice for yourself, Anna. I would tell myself self-advocacy does not always have to be directly to your doctor. If there are other members of your care team you feel closer to or more confident in speaking up to, then do that. For example, a social worker, a nurse, a PFT tech, your dietitian, it doesn't matter. It's just opening that conversation. Then you can ask that person to pass on a message about how you're feeling or things you're wondering about to your doctor. It just helps open up the conversation so then you can feel more comfortable if someone has already opened that door for you. It's okay to start small. Start with one particular person, maybe on your care team that you feel most comfortable talking to. Start getting your body and your mind used to what advocating for yourself feels like. You're the only person who is guaranteed to stand up for yourself in that way.
Yeah, and for me, I would just say, girl, keep on speaking up for yourself. And, don't let no one's feelings about, what you say or what you have need of get in the way of you telling people how you feel. I would also say never to allow fear to prevent you from doing what's best for you. You know yourself better than anyone else, so don't ever doubt or second guess how you feel. Because even if things don't turn out the way you want them, there's no regrets because at least you did what was best for you at that time.
100%. Thanks, Tanisha. All right. Well, we're now going to turn to answer some questions from you all, from the audience. So if you have any, go ahead, put them in the chat, put them in the Q&A. And if you have a question you'd like a particular panelist to address, myself, Anna, or Tanisha, please just add their name to the question so we can do that. And to start, so it looks like our first question is from Anna. I have just been diagnosed. I will have my first appointment at the local adult CF clinic on Wednesday. Is there something I need to make sure I cover with the doctors there?
I would say ask all the questions you want. Don't think that any question is silly. Don't think that any question is off limits. Just ask all the questions you can. And like I said before, come prepared. So sometimes we want to ask these questions and then we forget once we get there. So write it down. Just write down right now. Anything that comes to mind, just write it down. So when you get there, ask all the questions you want, and don't think that any question is off limits or any question is silly or dumb, because every question you ask is important because it's your health.
I think that's great advice. I would echo what Tanisha said. Number one, like she said, I think of questions and I'm like, oh, I'll remember it when clinic comes. Like, you never will. Write it down. You will leave and be like, oh, shoot, that's what I wanted to ask. So definitely write it down. And I would just echo what she said, like, don't be shy. This is your life and your health. And the doctors read all the books and studied all, like, they know how to handle CF, but you don't, and you're new. So ask all your questions. Next question is for Anna. What is your game plan from here?
I guess it related to the cancer and the CF. So I had surgery in December of 2021, and they removed, did a colon resection. So they removed the primary tumor and part of my colon, and both of my ovaries, as they both also had tumors. And so there was like 6 lesions left on my liver when I had the surgery. So they couldn't do anything for my liver. My liver's name's Larry. So, like, Larry has had a tough couple years, but he's a champ. And as of literally a couple days ago, I had a recent scan, and this is the second time that this result, as they don't see any more cancer in my body right now. Knock on all of the wood that you can find in your house. And I still do chemotherapy every 2 weeks. So with stage 4 colon cancer, there is no cure. And even though they don't see cancer, I kind of relate it to like Santa Claus. Just because you can't see him doesn't mean he's not real. So unfortunately, just because you can't see cancer doesn't mean it's not there. So I will keep doing chemotherapy, unfortunately, every 2 weeks. And the game plan is, if, crossing my fingers, if I get another good scan in May, there are some new blood tests that they can do, and I might be able to get a little chemo vacation for a couple, like maybe a month or two, and monitor things. And then, but there's no, it's like maintenance, right? So now I'm just like, it's like living with these 2 diseases and just trying to keep them both under control. And unfortunately, until science and medicine change, that is via chemotherapy every 2 weeks. And it's not fun. Please do not sign up for this. 10 out of 10, do not recommend.
Thanks, Anna. 10 out of 10 do not recommend. I hear that, but major excitement for you with your scans. I know it's like a Santa Claus, and I get that, but congratulations on that, because that is amazing. Next question for anyone who wants to answer. When you feel down or sad about CF stuff, what do you do to cheer yourself up?
Well, for me, because I got diagnosed later on in life, I didn't battle with the whole notion that CF is terminally ill. There's no cure for it. Being sick was just normal for me. Coughing every day was normal. I lived a normal life. I mean, as normal as I could have growing up in care. So now I just tell people when they ask me about it, CF, I don't live with CF. CF lives with me. And so even when I get sick, it's like, oh, okay, let me just address this and keep it going. I never dwell on oh God, what's going to happen now? Or is anything, what should I do? Or is this it? I just go, okay, I got to do this. I got to take these medications, or I have to rest, or I have to, go to the doctor to get lung clearance. Like I said, I don't live with CF. CF lives with me, so it has to do what I say.
I love that. Can I just get that on like a wall poster. I don't live with CF. CF lives with me. I'm going to take that from you. I'll credit you wherever I use it, but that's awesome. I love that. Okay, next question. Thanks for all the questions, everybody. How do you advocate that your community's doctor or specialists collaborate with your CF team when they are employed by different health systems?
So I can kind of take this. Like, also, how do I deal with all of the things? That's why I brought this little cute little puppy on. So they're all part of your care team, and you're like, even if they're not in the same hospital network. So I think it's going to be harder for them to connect, but it's not impossible. And at the end of the day, like Tanisha said, it's your health. Like, this is your body. This is your life. You know, like, my oncology doctor does not have to do the chemotherapy every 2 weeks. He just has to tell me to do the chemotherapy every 2 weeks. He gets the easy job. I have the hard job. So they have the easy job in some extent of telling you how to manage your care, but it's your life. You have to manage your care. So, you know, I think it's just more of like a harder advocacy, and even like maybe talking to the social worker and saying like, this is really important to me, and I want all of my providers to be in communication if they're directing my health in any way, shape, or form. If it's not CF related, or, you know, if it's reproductive health, that, you know, OBGYN should have a conversation with your CF team. You know, your primary care should all be able to get the records, right? Like, they should all be sharing information with each other, and you can make sure that that's happening by authorizing that to happen. So that would be, you know, I'm lucky in the sense, I don't know. I'm lucky that my all my providers are in the same hospital network. So it is easier for them to communicate, but like, I would not, even if they weren't, like, it would never be like, no is not an acceptable answer. And like, barriers of not being employed by the same people is also not an acceptable answer.
Yeah, great points. Okay, next question. How does your self-advocacy relate to awareness in the education of others, particularly outside of your CF care team? I can take this one. So we've been talking a lot about advocacy on this panel, and self-advocacy to your care team, right? And to your doctors and to people. When you say, like, Tanisha was having stomach and digestive pain, Anna was having, you know, GI and digestive issues, and advocating for your team, like, hey, you're the doctor, figure it out. But self-advocacy, what I've done a lot with self-advocacy outside of the medical community, is self-advocacy can look like talking to your friends. I mean, self-advocacy can even look like saying no to plans or things when you're like, man, like, CF can just sometimes be just exhausting, right? Like, you know what? I'm just tired today. And sometimes saying no, or just being like, you know what? I'm not able to attend that event today, or my stomach's bothering me, or I'm dealing with this or dealing with that. Like, those are forms of advocating for yourself. Tell your family, tell your friends, people outside of your CF community, like, be open about what's going on for you. Because one thing about CF that for a long time I really loved when I was younger was CF is an invisible illness, right? For most people, like, you can't tell I have CF by just taking a look at me. And for a long time when I was younger, I really liked that, because I felt like I couldn't be, you know, judged right off the bat as like the sick girl. But I think CF being an invisible illness, like, really makes that self-advocacy piece more important. Like, the only way people know that you're having stomach trouble or digestive issues or respiratory, or you're just tired or whatever it is, like, they only know that if you share that. and you advocate for what your needs are. And so I think advocacy, is important to do with your team and with your doctors and with your care team, but self-advocacy is also something that takes place outside of the medical setting as well. So those are my thoughts on that. We have a couple more questions, and it's 5:05, so 10 minutes left. I already answered that one, or we already answered that one. Okay, another question for Anna. Do your doctors have to keep you awake during a colonoscopy, and does it hurt?
No, you are not awake. It does not hurt. That was my fear, because when I was younger, I did have to have a colonoscopy, and I was awake. So I was traumatized by the first one I ever had, and that was back in the 90s. So now they do give you a little stuff, so you take a little nappy nap, and then you wake up and it's over. So I would say the hardest part, to me, the hardest part was finding out I had colon cancer. Once you hear you have colon cancer, nothing compares to that, if I'm being perfectly honest. Nothing. There's no test you could give me that I won't do, that I think is troublesome after having to deal with this. So is the prep annoying? Sure. Is it hard compared to all the stuff we have to do every day or we've done in our lives? No. But they put you to sleep now. It's like, it's not so bad. It's really not.
Okay, maybe one or two more questions. We'll see how many we get through. Next question for anyone. How has your relationship changed with your care team as you've gotten older? I'm not calling on Tanisha, but I wonder also if, how has your relationship maybe with your care team and your son's care team, knowing you're also a parent of someone with CF, how has that changed?
For me, as I gotten older, because I am 50 years old, it changed dramatically. Not so dramatically, it's just transitioned to the fact that I'm an older person with CF. So sometimes my needs are different now because I'm experiencing other medical issues. As far as my son is concerned, we go to 2 different CF centers. He has a very, very, mild case of CF, thank God. So he's not on any medications. He doesn't take any treatments. He's 19 years old now. I was told that sometimes with African-American men, they start to feel the symptoms later in their 20s. So we'll see. But right now he's doing just fine. He only goes once a year to, see what's going on about his breathing, his blood work, and so on and so forth. But me, I find I go more frequently now because I'm older. But my team is like the best team ever. And they just adjust as I grow older.
Awesome. That's great for your son. I'm glad he's doing so well. Anna, do you want to touch on how your relationship has changed with your care team?
I can't say enough amazing things about my care team, especially over the last 2 years. They come and visit me when I have chemotherapy. They take turns and sit with me. They, will get in touch with my oncologist at the drop of a dime. They called me and had me come down to tell me I had colon cancer. So my CF doctor, even though he was away when the whole thing started, had come back, and he was the one that was checking for the test results. He did not want me to hear that I had stage 4 colon cancer. So from some random doctor in the ER, although they did basically tell me they thought I had cancer before I left the hospital, before they even did the biopsy. So I think, they have really, stepped up to go above and beyond for me. And I'm just so very grateful. So I think, you can control the kind of relationship you want to build with your care team, right? And you have to be comfortable with your doctors. So that's super important. But I literally can't say enough amazing things. Like when I had surgery, I woke up and my CF doctor was the one standing next to me, like waiting for me to wake up, like to hold my hand. And I wouldn't be there a year without them, even though they weren't controlling the cancer treatment. They were, so heavily involved because I trusted them, right? Like I know them, like I believe they have my best interest in mind. So.
Yeah, you wouldn't be here with your cute little puppy. And we're so glad you are. I guess last quick question we'll touch on before Tanisha is gonna wrap us up. How can patients start a conversation about treatment with their physicians when it might feel difficult? I would just throw out what I said earlier. Your self-advocacy in the medical setting journey does not have to start with your doctor. Fully agree with what Anna said. You need to find a team of people that you are comfortable with. But just starting in self-advocacy, it doesn't have to be with your doctor. If you're comfortable starting with your social worker or a dietitian, if there's someone on your care team that you feel more confident in speaking up to, start with that person. They can pass a message on to your doctor and kind of open that door for you. So that would be my recommendation as far as how to start the conversation. Do it with the person you feel most comfortable with.
Yeah, thank you so much, Leah, for that. Unfortunately, we're just about out of time, so we're going to need to wrap this up. But first, I want to say thank you to my fellow panelists for sharing your knowledge and insight about self-advocacy. And thank you to all of you for your attention and especially your questions. But before we go, please take some time to fill out the satisfaction question under the poll tab on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll love to know how you felt about today's conversation. We now are moving into our next block of agenda items, which will include additional small group discussions and panel discussions you can take part in. Thank you again for attending, and we will see you in the next session.